discovering some of the things that we're discovering through all of this research and energy that we're putting into the opioid crisis is we're learning about adverse childhood experiences, trauma in youth, and what these traumas do and how they create these patterns. I mean, these are all symptoms. It's all very, how do I put this? Consistent across socioeconomic strata, that how trauma manifests in people. And because of the way the differences between how people of color and white people are treated in the criminal system, that's a whole other public health crisis, that people of color are not allowed to be traumatized. They're criminalized. And we're not reading this as, we need to get to the root cause of all of this. We need to just, check boxes off on a form and say that we did something. This requires, and you were saying, Josephine, that, the mental health taboo, which is very real, especially in communities of color. I think what this comes down to, it's not just recognizing the mental illness, it's recognizing from the very top levels of the United States government down to, our PTO presidents, white supremacy it's the problem. It is the problem. It is the generator of poverty cycles. It is the cornerstone of police brutality, redlining, every policy that you can think of. It all comes down to this. And when our leaders can and will recognize that white supremacy is the cause of these problems, and let's not forget patriarchy and capitalism kind of seems to contribute to this too. And, I could go on and on. But once we recognize these systems and begin to look at ways to properly dismantle and rebuild, only then are we going to begin to see improvements. Otherwise, these social problems that we are having now are going nowhere. And now people have had it, and it's enough. And I've talked for a long time. I'm very sorry.
What do you think, Charlotte? What's your 2 cents?
Well, I have personally had to go through an opiate addiction with 2 of my sons. So getting them care was, with not having proper insurance, I'm going to go at it at a different way, because I see a lot of it being a healthcare issue on top of what Nora was saying, that the care is not there. And one of the biggest things we see at our office every day is our veterans. Our veterans are neglected, and period. We have a lot of veterans that are going through PTSD, that are that you said that have gone through trauma. They have opiate addictions, and we have got to lobby for better health care for our veterans and for our low-income families. I think that is very, very important. We are not getting the proper care. I know that I personally had to go through it with 2 of my sons with the opiate addictions. Opiates are on the streets. They are out there. It's easy to get. And that is an escape. It's an escape for these people that have gone through trauma. It's an escape for very many people that have mental health problems. And we don't have the proper treatment for it. We don't. And we need to fix that. We need to be out there, and we need to be talking about that, and we need to get help for these people. So I agree with Nora, what she said, but I don't want to forget our veterans either. We have many veterans out there that need help, and
there's a lot of people who are suffering. Yeah.
They are addicted, and we see it every day. And the doctors I work for do all they can. But let me tell you, when it comes to getting the medication they need, the VA is not helping. They're not helping them. And that's a sad, sad reality. But I see it every day. I get calls every day from patients that cannot get their medication through the VA. It's not on their formulary. They won't approve it. And these people need that help. They need it. They have been addicted to opiates for so long, and they can't get the help they need to get off of it. And it really does sicken me. So we need to help them. That is something that we really need to keep in mind because it affects so many people.
Yeah.
This is where single
as,
payer healthcare would come in handy.
Yeah, and as both of you young ladies are talking about that, we say the system has to change in order to get those people help. But we understand the system was never designed for people that was on a lower tier anyway. So slavery, it was always to keep you oppressed. And when they had to break up the system because of the war, okay, they made a compromise. They didn't make change, they made compromises to get everybody to get what they wanted. And so we're still dealing with compromising situations in the law enforcement, in the government, to appease people, to get somebody at the top to get what they want. And so when the crack epidemic came on, that was the opioid. That was the first opioid. But it was like, okay, that's to destroy a people. Put that in the system in there because they're getting too many populations. We understand everybody was going to these project houses, so they were feeding the masses of people. Now here they come back from the war, from Vietnam War, and now we got a bigger problem. And so now all of a sudden they drop the heroin and crack cocaine, all these things into the communities that couldn't afford anything else. They needed something to deal with the pain, the suffering, the post-traumatic stress. So here we got heroin on the streets, we got all these different drugs. So then we fast forward to where the economy is not getting any better and these people are not contributing. So what are we gonna do for them? Let's drop crack into the communities. So when they dropped crack into the communities, it was cheaper for them because they couldn't afford cocaine. So it wasn't like they didn't want to get high, they just couldn't afford cocaine. So if we make it cheaper for them and we mess up their minds mentally and their bodies physically, we know they can't afford health care. We know they can't go to treatment. So we throw the crack cocaine into the neighborhoods. Now what they do is start fighting each other more. It's like rats in the barrel. They start fighting each other, killing each other. But yeah, the government's not helping. The government knows this problem exists, but they're not changing any policies. Instead, they have a war on drugs. How do you create a war and then you say a war on drugs? Reagan created the war so that he could get what he wanted, started the war in another country, and then shipped cocaine, crack back to the neighborhoods, and then claimed the war on drugs to start locking up the same black men that he gave his drugs to. So we understand the system is not designed, but we understand that the family is going through a trauma stage. Each time that they do this, it's a trauma in the family. And here we are now, the streets are exploding because of police brutality. Enough is enough. We're tired of seeing people get killed on TV. Now we know they're being killed all over America, but to have to watch it on TV, and then these cops go to a sentence and they say, okay, they're off. They walked. Because why? Once again, the unions are saying, hey, these guys did their job. The unions are fighting for them, saying these guys did their job. Once again, the system is fighting against us. The people at the bottom, we're saying we need help. They're like, you don't need any help. We don't have any help for you. We all know what the problem is, but they're not giving us the proper help. If you don't have enough money to go buy your food, what do? You go hungry. As a parent, if I can't feed my children, what happens? My children don't grow up to be as strong as another person's child because they're in malnutrition. So it's all of a system that continues to trickle down from one thing to the next. And we all know there's numbers based on all this. There's research every single day on food deserts. That's some research. We got college kids that go to school year after year to learn about food deserts. If you know about this in 2007 and we're still doing the same thing in 2020, teaching kids about food deserts all across America and all these state colleges, don't you understand that's research? They're not trying to fix it, they're researching. So when we continue to have these things, the opioids, researching, not trying to fix the problem, we're researching. We're putting the problem out there, now we're gonna research it. And so we gotta stop this research going on. Doctors they don't cure people. Doctors will tell you, I'm practicing medicine. I'm practicing medicine. That doesn't mean I'm gonna cure you, I'm practicing on you. So if I'm practicing on you, don't ask me for a cure. We might find some things in you, and we might give you some medicine or whatever that will make your problem be lesser. And hey, if you get cured in the process, that's awesome. But we don't know. Let's give you this. If somebody's on 25 different medicines, how is that going to cure them if I'm on 25 different medications? 25 different medications. That's going to cure a person? Each one of them has a different effect on your body. So we understand this. There's a system designed to keep people that has no money on the bottom. So today we want to talk about how do we deal with those traumas that we can be better, prepare our minds. Not my physical body. I may look strong, but on the inside, I may be a 5-year-old little boy, a 10-year-old little boy. I might be 25. I might go back to each stage of my life that a trauma has affected me. And some people, as we know, are stuck at 10. 35, but acting like a 10-year-old person. And nobody wants to address that issue. Nobody wants to deal with that trauma. But we have to deal with that trauma because we got younger kids, generation after generation, repeating these cycles. I don't want to see that anymore. That's why Dynamic Dad was created. That's why Magnificent Moms was created. We're going to do whatever we can to stop that cycle. We need your help out there, whoever listening, we need your help. Because we know you're going through a trauma too. You may not admit it on live Facebook like we're doing right now, but you're going through a trauma. And so we need your help to erase that. Not say, okay, fix it to where tomorrow it's going to break apart. Why do they think they give you a warranty on the TV? They know the TV is going to eventually break. I don't give you a warranty on something that's not going to break. I know there's expiration point for that TV. So buy this warranty for $5 a year. Human beings don't have warranties. We don't have a warranty for 2 years. I might live 40 years, I might live 5 years. And because I'm a black man, I might only live 6 years. I might only live 10 years past 25. Some kids in inner cities do not expect to live to see 25 years old. The numbers for them dying are too high. So why not go out there and do everything I can to destroy whatever's going on? I might not live to be 25 anyway. So we're here to address the trauma. Josephine, you're still muted. I hear you trying to talk. Unmute your mic, Josephine. No.
Whatever.
Whatever.
One thing that I would like to address, both Nora, you and Charlotte know me. Stop, be quiet, Charlotte. Having a friend as a family member and a friend, and you guys are white. Sometimes I know that's it may be kind of a little bit traumatic, especially if you got family members that are, because I think, Nora, your brother was a Facebook friend of mine. I don't know if he still is. Probably not.
I don't have a brother.
A brother was one of your family members, or cousins, or something. I know they Facebook friended me. But anyway, having someone as a you guys are close to me or related to me, and I know that can be kind of traumatic if your other friends or family members, they look at me and say, like, who is this black chick always running her mouth? And it may seem like I'm racist or I hate white people or whatever, but if you know me, you know that I'm a lover of all God's people. And my issue is that I hate injustice. I don't care if you're purple. You know, right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't see this as a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. I believe that all people should be treated fairly. So if you guys can share with me, like, how does it feel to when sometimes people address that or bring issues to that about them black people? Does it bother you, or how do you address that when you're in situations when they say those people? Or because see, people do it to me all the time, and I'm black, and that kind of really bothers me, because as black as I am, they talk to me like I'm a white person, and that kind of really bothers me, because I'm like, who they see standing before them. So I know that you guys must get that, like, them black people. So how do you address that when I know you guys are pretty vocal about how you stand?
Take it away, Charlotte.
I think people know better with me to say anything, especially, most of the time Aubrey's with me. And they know my standpoint on this. I mean, my parents raised us to love color, period. We didn't, pick and choose. We saw color and everybody's different, and we just were raised to love people. So, if somebody's going to make a comment to me about it doesn't matter, color, religion, whatever. I don't care. I don't discuss my political party. When they start talking political parties or race or religion, I mean, they know my standpoint. No, I don't have a problem speaking up. I'm Italian. I have a mouth. So I kind of just put it out there. Don't ever belittle somebody in front of me. Period. I don't want to hear it. And most people that know me know that already, so they wouldn't do it out of respect. If it's someone that doesn't know me, I have no problem speaking my mind. And JoJo, you know where I stand on this. We were raised in a family to love everybody. We were raised, my parents never raised us saying, not to see color. No, they raised us to see color, because we are to love everybody, no matter what their color is, no matter what their religion is. That's how we were raised. And I'm proud of that. And if people want to try to go into a debate with me on that, I have no problem debating that. But they're not going to disrespect anyone in front of me, regardless race, religion. I don't care. I mean, I have a beautiful biracial granddaughter. And as JoJo said, people do look at that differently. I have had people in the grocery stores in Walmart ask me her race. And my response is, why does that matter? Why does it matter? It doesn't matter whether she's biracial. It doesn't matter what her religion is. It doesn't matter what any of us are. We should love each other no matter what. God created every one of us equally. We are creations of God, period. It doesn't matter what our color is. It doesn't matter who we choose to worship, who we choose to love. And I will sit there and be honest with you. At first, it was hard for me with the and gay and lesbian community. And I had to really help myself with that and pray about that, because I was considering myself being a hypocrite at that point, because I loved everybody, but that was a little bit hard for me, because that hits me personally, home personally. And I had to pray about that. And God really slapped me upside the head and convicted me on that one, because it doesn't matter. And I am very vocal about that. I love everybody, period. I don't care who you are, what color you are, who you worship. I have to answer for what I do, and that is it. And God is going to hold me accountable for how I treat other people. So as far as my standpoint on this, I have no problem being vocal about it. And JoJo, I believe you can back me up on that one.
Just to turn backwards.
Okay, Nora, I'm done.
That was awesome. And I mean, really, so much of what you said is exactly what I would have said, that, come at me. I think that, most of the people who know me know where I stand. I'm not very shy about my point of view. And I do feel that if there are people in my, in my sphere who feel differently, they don't feel like having the debate. So they just don't start it. But conversely, it's incumbent upon me then to maybe make some statements. And maybe I don't want to be provocative. I like harmony as much as the next person, but there are ways to comment on current events that demonstrate what your point of view is. There are ways to, respond to other people's observations about what's going on, to make it clear where you stand. As much as I want to respect people's points of view and, learning how to listen and how to, what you had said earlier, Dennis, about really letting people talk and vent and, let their feelings and their observations be heard. It's super important. But on the other hand, I find myself getting fired up when I feel that, someone is coming from a point of view that I think is frankly repugnant. I find it hard to hold my tongue and to be respectful when I feel that, you know, all they're doing is disrespecting a class or classes of people, out of ignorance, out of spite, whatever the case may be. So for me, it's always a matter of trying, and I mentioned this on the call the other day, that for me, it's always a question of when to push on the gas and when to pump the brake. You know, when to continue a conversation with someone because we might have a breakthrough, and when to just forget it. It's not going anywhere. And, you know, so basically, to answer your question, Josephine, I think it's important to, you know, live in your truth. Like, if anyone questions why I would be friends with an amazing, dynamic person who has great thoughts and shares them on Facebook, I mean, a family member of mine or a friend of mine, friend requested you because obviously they saw something I liked, they liked it too, wanted to know more, and I think more people should do that. You know, I think the things that you write, Josephine, resonate because you speak directly from the heart, from your own experience. I think, and this goes to addressing the trauma, and Dennis, back to what you were saying, like, how do we address this trauma? And I think that you and Josephine both said it's this vulnerability, the ability to tell your truth and to share your story and to not be ashamed by the things we're supposed to be ashamed about feeling weak, feeling insecure, like we don't have all the answers. And our kids, they love that stuff. They're like, whoa, you're like me, you don't know everything. Like, you're letting me into your world. You're not being this, you know, like this figure. You're being a human being with me. And I think that that is one of the ways that we start addressing the trauma, is by having the guts to have these conversations and to lay ourselves bare to other people. Because, I mean, all this guilt and shame about not being enough, like, that's, you know, that's how we all got here, is by buying that message that we're not good enough somehow. Oh, no bad words. Forget that. You know, we are all good enough. And so I hope that answers your question, and I hand the floor back to my hosts.
Yeah, that's a great point. You made some great points, both of you did. And that's what we address when we talk about being vulnerable. You know, and the Bible tells us to come as a child, so leave the way. And also tells that we should come as a child. And that's basically saying that we have to be really open, honest, and innocent, impure of everything that's going on around us. We all know that everything that we're doing right now is a learned behavior. As a child, we don't know that. So we're constantly getting this like a computer. We're constantly fed information. And sometimes there's certain information that gets locked in our head, and that's all we know, that's all we see. So even with right now, we're talking about, you know, the racial injustice that's going on. So with Dynamic Dads and Magnificent Moms, we have this what we call racial cultural competence. And that's basically getting people to understand who they are. I want to embrace who I am. And I don't want to be apologetic to you because I'm African American. I'm learning about my African culture. I just have to tell you, tone it down, Dennis. You're being a little too black. No. So do I tell you to tone it down because you're being a little too white? And you say, no, what do you mean white? That's what we are. This is America. Look around you, buddy. This is America. We built it. No, you didn't build it. You forced us to do what you want to do. So now if I know who I am, then I could come at you and tell you I feel good about myself. We know in the 70s they had a thing with James Brown, so I'm black and I'm proud. And it started a whole new revolution because people were understanding, embracing who I am. Walking around with my hair out, my dashikis, my long hair like Josephine has her hair now, and locks, and they embraced that. Some people, they went away from that because they was like, oh no, my goodness, she's being too black. What is going on? But when we look at culture competence, right now in our society, we need that. We need people to understand what the young lady is going down to that's biracial. She needs to know who she is on both sides of her life. You can't say, okay, she's more black, let's teach her all things black. But then she has a white people that's on her side, so she needs to learn their culture as well. But that makes her. She doesn't go through life being confused. Who am I? Who am I? We hear that so many times in society. I'm not white, I'm black. I'm not black, I'm white. And all this confusion comes in your mind. They don't really know who they are. That's trauma because they don't know their true identity. Same thing with a young white man says, I don't relate to what you're dealing with. Why don't you relate to me? I see you guys on TV or whatever, but now if I'm face to face with you, I don't relate. Why? Because you've been pushed out to the suburbs or any other area away from us. so that you have to deal with our issues. You don't have to relate to us because here your grandfather or your great grandfather says you don't need to be near them. So we need to erase that. And the only way you can erase that is cultural competence. For Nora saying, okay, I want to learn more about you. Not just because of what's going on, but because I need to understand you. And I say to Nora, that's fine. I need to understand you. Because if I look at history, it's going to tell me what I need to know anyway. But then we could get a debate all day about who's better than who. That's not going to help me. If I start talking about how you developed and how I developed in the culture, that's not going to help neither one of us understand us. And we're not going to get along. And that's what the problem we have in America right now. We know the history of Africa. You can't deny it. We know the history of the Europeans. We can't deny that either. But we also know that here we are today when the Europeans are saying to me, as a black man, I control you. You're still my property. I'm allowing you to do what you're doing, but you're still my property. In my mind, you're still my property. And because I control everything, I don't care what you say. I get you the jobs. If I want to take away your job, I'll take it away. This affirmative action thing never really worked out for us, did it? It never really worked out for black people because we still see we're getting the short end of that affirmative action stick. So what we come together today is talk about the trauma that we deal with every single day, not to beat each other up, but to try to understand each other, try to find solutions and how we can come together and work. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going nowhere else. I'm not moving to Trinidad. I'm not moving to Africa. I built America. So I'm not going to go anywhere so that can make you feel comfortable. Because if I go to Jamaica, if I go there, the same problem exists there. They still don't understand each other. There's still a government that's depriving them of their rights. If I go to Trinidad, still there. Because guess what? They were my ancestors. They were dropped off. So we can't run away from the problem, people. No matter where we go to, we can't run away from the problem. So let's solve the problem. Let's talk about it. Josephine?
Well, Dennis, as you were speaking, I really want to address my sisters, my black sisters. We need to start taking off our mask. We need to start treating each other better. My heart is really vexed. It's vexed because, and this is no disrespect against you, Charlotte and Nora, but society has taught us that we're not worth anything unless we ascribe to look and be more like you guys. That we can't embrace our own beauty unless we look like you, unless our hair is like you guys, unless we're thin like you guys, or whatever, unless our skin is like you guys. My whole life growing up in the South, I have been traumatized being a black girl, not black by race, but black by skin color. My sisters are light-skinned. I caught hell because of my melanin. Just recently, not recently, but within a few decades, I learned to love my brown skin. The reason why I have dreadlocks now, because I shaved my head, because I got tired of putting a lot in my hair to keep it straight like yours. My hair is naturally kinky curly. It grows in curls, but it's kinky. I had to learn that my hips, my curves, they wasn't gonna go anywhere. I had to come to that resolve that I am who God made me to be. And I see it so within my colorism, there's race. See, we like to bash white people about being racist, but there is a prejudice within our own culture too. So we need to come clean and deal with our own mess too. Sisters that are dark skin, light skin, good hair, bad hair, thick, fat, all this, we need to deal with that ourselves. We need to take off the mask, because all the hot couture clothing, all the hats and all the jewelry and all this other stuff, that does not make us. If our core traits are not where we should be, all that other stuff, we just a bunch of dressed up messes. You know, that does not make who we are. We can buy all that stuff and we still have some stinky attitudes. That don't make us pretty and fine and all that other stuff. We, if, and also we have to learn that this society, like for instance, Candace Owens, I feel so sorry for that young lady. She really hates herself, and they're gonna use her until she can't be used anymore. So we have to learn how to love ourselves, and we have to learn how to love each other. White, black, blue, green, we're sisters. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to, like when I was mentioning earlier, like how I'm a direct communicator. So some people see me as being confrontational. No, sometimes I say what other people want to say instead of saying it behind closed doors. We have to come to the table. We have to address this trauma, because that's the only way. If you don't confront what's ailing us, we're never going to conquer it. So we have to find how to speak to each other in a nice way. It's not what you say, it's how you say. We got to stop scraping the surface and get to the root. But also we got to realize that dandelions, how we always cutting the grass and throwing out the dandelions have healing properties. So we got to realize that too. So when we come to the table, everybody should have a seat at the table, because it can't be about us without us. So when we, like all these CEOs and all of this, I believe personally, and this is just my opinion, I believe it's purely economic. Because you can't overnight just say, oh, we're going to start treating Black people better. No, they realize the $1 trillion effect. We spend trillions of dollars, and they realize that Black people, they waking up, we better start treating them right. So until we start, we can't sit on Facebook. I know I'm talking about a lot of things, but I'm trying to get it out. We gotta come together. We gotta sit at the table. We gotta treat each other right. We gotta realize the reason why they tearing up stuff because they don't have ownership. So we gotta start teaching these kids and stop blaming these kids, because we raise these kids. We gotta accept ownership and stop turning our heads. We gotta love each other. It's so many things that I'm bringing up. This is just a big gumbo that I'm talking about. It ain't complicated. Sisters, we gotta love each other. Baby mamas, we gotta stop holding our kids as pawns. You wanna know why the dad sometimes giving up? Because he get tired of arguing with you. It's arguing with you. You got to have a peace of mind. It's so much I can say, and I'm trying. It's just so much is just bubbling up in me. But I'm gonna put these points out on my page, because that baby mama drama, that hating each other for how she looked, that stabbing each other in the back, that competition, that white versus Black, we got to come together. And this world is going to continue and continue and continue to get worse. So we got to find a solution.
Yeah, but we understand, like I said, Nora hit on it earlier when she talked about the racism that we deal with in the system. Is that the system has forced us to be against each other. And so if I wanted to be like you, Nora, or like your husband, they're telling me in order for me to be better, I must be like that. You're not smart enough to be here or be there. So I have to come into the corporate era. If I'm coming to the corporate, I can't do certain things that I'm doing in myself as a corporate. I'm gonna have to shave all my hair off, because that's the corporate, that's the model, that's the frame, that's the robot system. I walked around and I was in Europe, and I see everybody walking around with these blue suits on. You know how Star Wars, when they had the people, they're all dressed in white and they're all dressed in black. That's why I'm like, what is this? Is this Star Wars? I mean, they all have on, they're a robot. Everybody's got to dress the same. Everybody's got to have this blue, skin tight, short I'm not wearing that. That doesn't fit my body. But that's what society or the corporate world says you have to be. Now, for me, as you all, young ladies see that I talk with a very loud and deep voice. So if imagine me in a corporate room and we're talking about something and my voice goes like it is right now to very deep, then it's calm down, you're getting a little too aggressive. I'm expressing myself. But there are certain terms that are used against me as a black man. Even the cops say it all the time. Boy, if you don't stop while I'm not complying to me, I'm going to have to do this and do that. We have trigger words. There's words that are set just for us in the black community that they're not set up for any other community. And that's the problem that we face every single day, even in the political room that you're in now, Nora. Tell me, if you can, real quickly, can you explain the numbers of black men and black women that are in the political realm that we really effective? Can you explain that so these young people can understand that they're not getting where we need? The reason why we're not having things change, we're not being represented properly.
Correct. I would say in Will County that our African American leaders are in greater number year by year. The dearth right now would be with our Latinx community. For 200 years, Latinx, Spanish-speaking people, immigrants from all Spanish-speaking nations have been in Joliet and Will County, but they are not represented in our local government. And that is something that I am, looking to address. We have Black leadership, but need more. It needs to be more representative because we have several different cities in Will County that are, that have a substantial Black population, and more representation would be better. So we have a long ways to go in having representative diversity, but that doesn't go far enough. That's the first layer. We need more in terms of the diversity and inclusion training and understanding the language. The world that Black people live in, white people still don't understand, even if we're working side by side in government bodies. We are still not educated enough in these systems to recognize them. It's not enough to say, well, we have Black board members. So what? What does that say to, business contracts and, small businesses and industry and the representation there, the economic factor. And I do think that for a lot of people in Will County, that is a priority, but I think it needs to be a priority for everyone in Will County.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the point that I want to get across. If we don't have representation and we don't understand how the people talk, sometimes I might use slang words. Sometimes I might just express myself a little differently than the average person, Latino, Asian, white, or whatever, or whatever race they are. They don't have the same language. We have a different language. If you look at music, we have a different language in music. The young lady came in before and said we worship differently in church. This is just who we are, people. And so we can't say, okay, we're going to ignore their differences. It's our differences that makes everybody flock to America. That's why people come here. They don't come here, they come here for the money, for the opportunities, but it's because our differences makes those opportunities, makes that money that they can't make in their other country. But yet America wants to control how you and I interact with each other.
That's it right there. The control of how we interact. And that goes back to, again, maintaining these, we say we don't have classes in the United States, and that is BS.
Yeah,
we still have classes, and even though economically it is possible under the right circumstances to make a big leap in your tax bracket, for the most part, things are pretty much set up the way that they're set up. And, we know how the system is stacked against us, and controlling how we interact with each other. I mean, God, Josephine, you're talking about how you and your Black sisters need to be kinder to each other, but like, what kind of abuse have you internalized to get to that space? All while white culture loves to steal from Black culture. So it's like, we tell you on one hand that you're not enough, but on the other, we are making use of your creativity every step of the way. So, I mean, like, how it's such just a mind,
It's
I want to
mind-boggling.
swear. I want to say bad words, but I'm going to
Yeah, but
respect
think
you all.
about this. Think about this. In the malls that we shop, most of the stores in there are not really, the clothes are not really designed for our young black women. But they shop there because they can afford it and they want to have a piece of what another person has. So look at the high-end stores when they have Louis Vuittons, the Coaches. Now they
Who shop
800,
there? I mean,
right, $800, $700. You know these women can't afford that
I'm
bag.
a TJ Maxx. Sorry.
But they know these women, if you already know they're on Section 8, they already know they're low income. But yet the mall is where they can shop at because they want to feel glamorous every now and then.
That's
$800
capitalism,
bag.
though. That's the promise of capitalism. With enough money, you can be whoever you want. And I mean, while to a degree that's true, the trappings of wealth, and I think that that is also, you know, a big reason that so many Americans of all kinds are in economic distress, because we're trying to buy self-image when you just can't do that. I mean, you might feel good, you know, flouncing around with your Louis Vuitton bag, but at a certain point, I think the thrill wears off, but the debt doesn't. And, you know, at what point do we figure out that and Josephine, you talked about this, you talked about the outer trappings and the trying to project an image. And at what point do we take off those masks and say, who cares? Who cares what kind of car you drive, what kind of shoes you wear? Like, it's good to look good and to feel good, absolutely. But if you're going to put yourself in economic distress to purchase these items that don't really do that much at the end of the day, you know, that's the capitalism. It's like this it's like a monster. It's this big monster made up of all these systems. Ah.
And capitalism not only affects black people, it affects all of us. And Dennis, they gonna get you about Section 8 because white people on Section 8 too. So
Yes, and
you better watch that,
Oh,
brother.
no. I know everybody. We got people on food stamps. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
I just want
every
to see
race.
people that take that the wrong way and
They
run
can,
with it.
hey, they
living
can
in a
take, they,
6-bedroom house with a 3-car garage and,
hey,
you know, not an
they
ounce
can
of
take,
space. You got so much stuff and
right.
they're broke.
They
They're
can
in.
take it. Look, any race that's watched this to me, I don't care if Asian, Jamaican, Hindu, whatever you want to claim yourself to be. I'm talking across the board. You got trauma. And if you don't want to face the trauma, hey, you can call me whatever you want to call me. But I know everybody's out there. I live in Arizona. Arizona has a lot of trailer parks. Now you tell me. So I'm not calling nobody out. But I know that I'm not the only one that's getting the benefits of the government system.
Oh,
Was,
and that has been well established that white people are the primary recipients
yes.
of government assistance. And let's not even get into corporate welfare and all Amazon popping up all over the place and paying $0 in taxes. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. So we pick each other apart and we are grabbing for crumbs. And meanwhile, we are just producing the labor that makes billionaires, trillionaires. And it's so stupid.
But it creates a trauma. It creates a drama and trauma.
Yes. And it's generations of trauma. Yep.
Charlotte, are you there? I want to ask, you brought up something earlier about bullying. Is our little granddaughter around so she can talk about bullying? She was she did a bullying campaign, and I was wondering if she would be really willing to speak about the trauma of bullying. Aubrey, you don't want to talk about bullying? You scared to tell Gammy JoJo about bullying? She's scared.
What you talked about at the gala? Do you remember?
You remember talking about bullying? You want to tell the people about bullying?
You don't want to talk about.
She's not feeling comfortable right now.
Yeah, she don't want to talk right now.
She don't want to talk about it. But Aubrey, I'll share. Aubrey did an anti-bullying campaign. Was it a couple of years ago? And she's a little artist, and she talked about kids bullying kids, and she did a magnificent job, and It did something to my heart to see her being so young, being touched by seeing, I think the little girl, her name was Michaela. She was Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
Yes, she killed herself. So that's another trauma that we need to address. Kids committing suicide. How can we just close that gap? Kids at 9, 5, they should be playing. How are parents missing that? How are parents missing that? What is going on? We've gotten so busy with our lives, with our jobs, until we fail to communicate with our children. No child should be so stressed out that they want to take our lives. So I need to challenge each and every parent to start spending more time. This pandemic should have been an excellent time for all parents and children to bond. I know abuse has risen and everything, but we need to just spend more time communicating. So, in respect of time, I know we've got a lot more to discuss. We probably gonna need to close out. I enjoyed each and every one of you guys. We've had some great topics going, so we're gonna continue this for another time. Thank you, Nora.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlotte, Cece, and Dennis. So, any guys, some closing remarks?
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
It feels good to get out, right, Nora? It feels good to get it out there.
Get there on time and enjoy the conversation. I honestly, thanks for the redo. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you'll invite me back.
Sure, we will. We will.
CC?
I just think the key to this whole thing is communication. In everything we discuss, communication, it is number one. We have to keep the lines of communication open.
Yes, we definitely do. Definitely do. So, everybody that's listening and watching, go to www.dynamicdad.org. Sign up. Give us your concerns. Let us know what you think. Help support us out in any way that you can. And once again, just want to thank you. This Dynamic Dad, positive attitude, full of energy and new ideas with the magnificent mom. So we want to thank everybody for coming, for joining us, for listening, for watching. Whatever you can contribute to us, please do that. So everybody have a great night. Talk to you soon. Matter of fact, we're really coming right back. We're going to take a short break. We have another meeting at 7 o'clock that Josephine set up. And so we're going to come back again at 7. So have a great night, ladies.
Bye, everybody.
And you guys are feel free. We're going to be talking about the married couples. Those are going to be the married folks. So grown folks conversation. So feel free to join us.
Wait, Josephine. Now somebody wants to get on camera and wants to be a superstar down there. Now
she wants to be a superstar.
She wants to be a superstar. Hey, guess what? Bye.
Hey.